Hello YouTube, Professor Codger here. Welcome to Pipes 230, dedicated pipes. One of the first concepts you'll encounter as you spend more time in the hobby is pipe dedication. Many experienced pipe smokers choose to reserve certain pipes for specific styles of tobacco. Today we're going to discuss why they do this, whether you should, and how to decide if it's right for you. Pipe dedication simply means assigning a pipe to a particular tobacco or family of tobaccos. For example, a pipe smoker might have a Virginia pipe, an English pipe, a burley pipe, and an aromatic pipe. Some smokers dedicate only a few pipes, others dedicate nearly every pipe they own. You'll find the gamut out there. I have my pipes dedicated to blend families. A Virginia-based blend for a couple pipes for that, a couple pipes for an English, a couple pipes for a Balkan, all the different categories. I'm a bit of a collector, so it kind of makes some amount of sense for me. You do it a little bit different, from what I understand.
Well, I started out with a cob, and for years that was pretty much like all I used. When I was barely smoking, a couple times a year only, and I was willing to smoke anything in a cob. They're relatively inexpensive, and I always tried to be like kind of frugal and pragmatic about the hobby when I first got into it. So I was thinking what's the big deal? How bad could it be? I now have a collection of 7 or so pipes, and I do find that, first of all, I mostly smoke Virginias and vapors and Virginia-based blends, so I think that I'll smoke them in any pipe. I think that certain blends or certain components ghost more than others. The only thing that I haven't had deer tongue. I think I had it once years ago that you gave me. You did give me something with it, and I was probably smoking in a cob. I don't remember. I found that Latakia ghosts, but the jury's still out for me on. So I pretty much every time I smoke something with Latakia, I smoke it in this pipe. But I'll also use this for anything else. Like I don't dedicate it. It's just that something that ghosts, I try to confine to one pipe.
Right.
But even then, I don't know how much the ghosting even really bothers me. I'm still trying to figure out, like I was saying, the jury's still out. How long does that ghosting last?
Yeah.
Because I don't taste Latakia in this anymore. I think it lasted maybe 5 or 6 bowls max. Maybe probably like 4. And maybe if I smoked it all the time, probably longer. If I smoked lots of Latakia in this, it would probably last longer. Yeah. But even when it does ghost, it's not like every puff tastes a little bit like Latakia. It's like out of an entire bowl.
Right, now and again you'll get
now and again I'll get. It's almost like when you kind of burp and you taste your last meal.
A little bit.
It's not. It doesn't necessarily go with whatever you're eating now, or whatever you're smoking now. But it's not. It doesn't necessarily ruin it. So I'm not sure how important it is. I heard deer tongue really ghosts a lot. And what was the other one? The other floral one that they use in certain...
The Lakeland Essence.
Lakeland Essence, which I haven't really had those either. Have you, even though you kind of have dedicated pipes, what has been your experience with like ghosting? And
I have a pipe that I don't dedicate anything to. I'll put anything in it. And I recently had some of the Autumn Evening that you had given me.
Right.
And the next bowl the next bowl that I had tasted very much of that kind of toffee mapley.
Yep.
Very much so, and it was a pretty smoky blend. It was a Strathspey, it was a Latakia blend, whiskey flavoring, pretty strong blend in its own right, and it was still showing some signs of that Autumn Evening.
What I heard was that it's mostly the carbon cake where the ghosting occurs. That's where the flavor is kind of held.
Yeah, so we're kind of dancing around the question we're dancing around the reasons, the answer to the question of why dedicate your pipes.
Yeah.
And that's because pipe tobacco leaves behind subtle flavors and aromas within the chamber, and over time these can influence future smokes. And one of the ways that it leaves that behind is by the amount of carbon cake that it's become.
Right.
Leaving behind its flavors in that carbon cake, which gets heated up every time you smoke your pipe.
Gotcha. So it's the heating of the carbon cake that kind of releases those essences.
I believe that is how it goes, yeah.
Now, with the meerschaum, where you don't really want to create a carbon cake, build a carbon cake to begin with, but it's also porous. Does any of those, are they generally safe from ghosting because there's no carbon cake, or do they get ghosting within the porosity of the meerschaum itself?
I believe they're generally safe from ghosting. I've never had any ghosting issues with my meerschaums, even with a coloring bowl that I'll just run anything through.
Right,
Like all of my meerschaum smokes use that bowl, and I don't find any issue with ghosting.
Yeah, okay. So it's really, it seems like it's the carbon cake is the culprit there.
Yeah. And by dedicating a pipe, many smokers find they can preserve the character of a particular blend family without unwanted crossover. It's especially noticeable between like strongly flavored aromatics and natural tobaccos. Not every tobacco requires its own pipe. The most common dedications include aromatics, English mixtures, or anything that involves Latakia.
Yeah.
Lakeland blends, that's a very common one. These styles, and you mentioned deer tongue as
Yep.
well, these styles tend to leave the strongest lingering aromas. Many smokers freely share pipes between Virginia Burley, Virginia Perique, and other natural blends.
Yeah, I don't find those ghost at all.
Yeah.
I've never been like, oh, this tastes kind of like Virginia, this tastes kind of like Burley. They're just pure tobacco flavors. I don't really find... I mean, Latakia to an extent is, but...
Yeah, and the reason I have them dedicated to family is that the cake will be all of that family. So any contribution will be all within the same kind of blend family.
I remember when I got into Japanese green tea for a little bit, and I still enjoy it. But they have different types of teapots they call kyusu, and I guess the ones that are unglazed, they pretty much try to dedicate to a particular type of green tea. So because after a while it sort of takes on that flavor, and I guess if you're constantly, whereas the ones that are glazed, they can kind of they'll brew anything in.
Right.
And it's a similar kind of reason, like it's almost porous like the way the cake would be.
Ultimately, experimentation is what will help you decide what works for your palate. How much dedication is necessary? There's no universal rule. Some smokers dedicate every pipe. Others smoke everything in every pipe. Most fall somewhere in between. I think your situation is probably a pretty common one.
Yeah, I think I've discovered that 90% of the time I'm smoking Virginias and Vapors. I'm probably going to smoke those in every pipe. They don't really ghost to begin with, so I don't really have an issue with having them in every pipe, and I don't mind.
The reason you would dedicate would be to keep things out of the Virginia Perique one, rather than to keep the Virginia Perique from having an influence anywhere else.
Exactly. So this is the only one I really smoke Latakia in, but I'll smoke Virginias in this still, and I'll be like, okay, maybe I taste a little Latakia if I had it recently, but I don't mind it because I know it's not getting into all my other. But my main Virginia pipes, this is my kind of everything pipe. I think it makes it a little practical.
As your collection grows, dedication often happens kind of naturally a little bit anyway, rather than by strict planning. It's not like you go out to buy your Virginia Burley pipe.
Yep. I think
for me, I just ended up with enough pipes. I was like, hey, you know what? I have enough pipes that I could dedicate.
Absolutely. I think, another thing that's kind of related is like the bowl shape. And I think, traditionally they say Virginias are better in more of a tall, narrow kind of pipe of bowl shape.
Yeah.
So, and I find that to be the case. And like things with lots of components, like a lot of English mixtures, would be better in more of a pot style, wider, shallower bowl. So you're probably more likely to find that you might like that you smoke certain mixtures in certain bowl shapes, and then that kind of dedicates the pipe for you, not purely, but you might find, hey, I've got enough pipes that this is the one that I want to smoke my Englishes in, this is the one I want to smoke my Virginias in.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The dedication ends up being kind of something that just incidentally happens rather than a planned dedication.
I often wondered about, when first getting into the hobby, especially nowadays, we got YouTube, we got Reddit, we got all kinds of stuff that you can find information out now, ChatGPT, all kinds of stuff. But a lot of the pipe smokers of, our grandparents' generation, I'm pretty sure they smoked one pipe, or maybe they had a couple. They smoked whatever they bought in whatever pipe they felt like it.
Yeah.
They smoked it. They didn't necessarily let it air out for 24 hours. They didn't, they probably let it cool before they smoked the same pipe again, if they could, if they had more than one. But I'm pretty sure they broke all the rules that we consider rules. And I think that's one thing that we start to find as we smoke more is, these rules are nice guidelines, but they're not rules per se.
They're not. Yeah, you can definitely find your own way in the hobby.
Yep.
And nothing is really a hard and fast rule beyond, needing a pipe, tobacco, and a flame.
Yep. Yeah, you could smoke anything you want in any pipe. You can smoke it kind of as often as you want, as long as you don't break the pipe somehow doing it.
Yeah, if you're just starting out, don't feel pressure to dedicate pipes immediately. Focus on enjoying the hobby. As you discover blend families that you smoke most often, you might gradually assign pipes to those tobaccos through that kind of process you were
Yep.
describing. Noticing which ones work better, which ones you enjoy better, and which particular pipe, etc. Because it's not like that ghost is not going to linger forever,
No, it's not.
and it's not going to ruin every
No.
bowl.
Yeah, even the ghost that I did taste, it was almost like there's a hint of latakia. That's kind of nice. And then back to smoking Virginia for the next 30, 40 puffs with
Mm-hmm.
no hint of latakia whatsoever. And also, yeah, like in order to dedicate pipes, you need to have a bit of a pipe collection. So if you're just starting out, like you were saying, you might have a cob and a briar or a couple of cobs or something like that. You might have one or two pipes.
Yeah.
You don't really have the ability to dedicate anyway. And
Yeah.
it's not that big of a deal.
Pipe dedication is one of the many ways that pipe smokers personalize their experience. Some swear by it, others rarely think about it. It's no right or wrong approach. Just experiment, pay attention to what you taste, and let your experience guide your decisions.
But I think the fear of the ghosting being permanent, I wouldn't worry too much about that.
No. Until next time, thanks for watching.